I keep popping in and out here, reception issues. But I'm getting up into the mountainous area. This is the Appalachians, and this terrain is getting attractive, and I just want to show it to people. The sun's out, the clouds are chiseled. This is starting to look nice. I am on 40 East. I think I'm in Kentucky, Tennessee. I just enjoy the terrain here. It's more interesting. Attractions, none. Let's see what's going on here. Update software temperature. Navigate. Avoidance. I am having navigation issues. Settings. For whatever reason, my navigation is not working properly. No, I'm having a problem with my GPS. It's not my. I have a dashboard non-phone GPS. And it uses satellites, and I like it because the reliability of satellites. But for some reason, this system is not acquiring satellites. I don't know why. So I can't use this. The traffic turn stop mute turns. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to find itself, and I don't know how to kickstart a GPS to make it find itself on a map. So I just did a factory reset. It thinks I'm on Miami Beach right now, as far as it's concerned. Yeah, this is kind of frustrating because I like to navigate with my navigation and play with my phone going down the road. So we're getting into Appalachia right now. We're on I-40 East. This is us getting into the mountains. And here's another opportunity to coast. So I'm out of gear right now. Back in neutral, the cruise control off. I do this periodically. And this GPS is only a few months old. I just bought this thing. I have some older GPSs that I've been using on and off. The problem is the database in them is outdated. It's like 2010, which you plug it into your computer and you go on the Garmin website. You go, hey, update this, and they take one look at the model and they go, no, it's too old. We're not going to update. You got to go buy a new one. Get good communists. So I dropped the money to buy this new GPS, this new Garmin, and it's not working. If you run it not plugging it in, when the power gets to a certain level, it dims the screen so you can't have bright screen, and it keeps resetting to dim because it says, oh, you're not plugged into a power source, and when I am, so that kind of is annoying. It started doing that a few days ago, and now it's not finding itself on a map. So I may have to find a GPS here in the street near future. And that's somewhat annoying. But this is into the Appalachian Mountains, eastbound on 40. I've gone through Knoxville, and I just did a turn off, and the traffic thinned out, so it's kind of nice. But I like this area. I like this terrain. And I don't know if you could see it in the video, but the clouds are clipping the mountaintops right there on the left. It just looks cool. And I have flown through this area a few times, and it can be a little bit challenging. It doesn't really matter what time. Yeah, this GPS, I can't believe this. I've only had this in like 4 months, and it's already given me grief, and it's new. That's what sucks. And it's a Garmin. It's not some off-brand. Been streaming Drive this morning, but I'm getting into mountainous areas, and the video, the stream drops. You can make phone calls, but for some reason it's not letting the video, so it may cut in and out whenever it feels like it. And I am en route. I'm going from a little town just east of Nashville, finishing this drive to Morganton, North Carolina. And it was supposedly due tomorrow, but I'm going to get it there today, and I don't have access to my bunk, and I'm talking to myself. So I'm staying in a hotel. Hey, Eric, what do you mean? No. No what? So they told me this load's due tomorrow. So I got a hotel because I can't get my bunk because my bunk's being eaten up by this cargo. And they called me at 6:20 this morning, and they go, "Oh my God, where are you?" And I said, "Oh, sleeping." They said, "Oh, you're supposed to be there 8 o'clock this morning." I said, "Not according to my paperwork." So they scrambled around, and hey, guess what? On my app, it changed. What do you know? To today, um, 2 hours ago. So they had to call the customer and say he's going to be late. Well, it's not my fault. No cops, no apps. Try to read this. No ops. You mean, yeah, my stupid satellite. I'm sitting here watching it, and for the last 30 plus minutes, it says acquiring satellites, and I've turned it off and back on. Universal Uno is back like a bad rash in the middle of summer. Wow, look at this view coming up right here. This is why I turned my phone back. Look at this. This valley right here. Where's the bottom of this ditch? All right, got to do it. Got to coast. Yeah, this is why I have the phone running right now. This is just a gorgeous piece of real estate. Up there in front of us, the clouds are cutting off the mountains right there. The road split, and the other side, there's like a 150-foot gap, and there's the other traffic. And I like when they do that, so you're not staring at people's headlights and stuff. I'm getting 22.7. And once you get into the rolling hills, gas mileage has a tendency to go down. Rose Parkway, Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I've actually been through this state. I'm in Tennessee or Kentucky, and I think I think I'm in Tennessee at this point. These two kind of blend together for me, and we zigzag back and forth. So I think I'm in Tennessee currently. But I like driving through this area, and there's one place up here where you go through a ridge line, and I was talking about this yesterday. The speed limit sign right there, you see that one go by, says 60? They're digital speed limit signs. And I'm like, why spend the time and money to buy a digital speed limit sign? It's because the number changes. Because in that little pass, it gets foggy. And the fog gets so incredibly thick, they start dropping the speed limits. And you kind of go, yeah, whatever. Drive along, and it said 25 miles an hour. And I'm like, yeah, And about 20 seconds later, I was doing 17 miles an hour because I couldn't see. I was sitting my phone down and had my coffee come to, didn't he? You said that, no comment. The infamous butt dial. Okay, back to coasting. This is one thing I like about this is these valleys are getting steeper, but I like to kick my van out of gear and let momentum carry me down the mountain. Habit. Well, this isn't giving me the speed I needed. So back in gear. It's steep mountain up here. There's a couple of places on, I think it's on this road where I've gotten up to 85 miles an hour in neutral going down these hills. See, to me, 2.6. Ooh. So I stayed at a Econo Lodge last night. It's one I've actually stayed in before. Another steep hill. And I guess they did some upgrades because the sheets were really nice on the bed. I was really impressed with that. Yeah, Interstate 40. Interstate 40 eastbound in Tennessee. I like this area. I like coming through here at night when you're like the only car on the road and you can run your high beams. And these big sign on the road says no trucks left lane. Look at the guy in front of us. And these Ford Transits have these big old bucket headlights on them. And when you hit your high beams, it like turns on the sun. And I like going through here. Here we go. In the turn. In the turn. Pulling G's. All right. Coming out of the turn. We're doing good. Here. Seems like last time I came through, there it is. Right lane closed, half mile. I've been through here before, and this traffic was backed up forever. Let's see what happens up here. I'm not seeing the backup that should be going on unless they're done with it. Well, it looks like we're getting pinched off. Oh, this is awesome. Last time I came through here, and the road was pinched into one lane, it was backed up a good half mile, and we started that stop and go bumper to bumper garbage that I can't stand. So this is much nicer. There's a really nice rest area right there. The Tennessee and Kentucky rest areas are very nice. They have like a room with big fluffy chairs in it, like a fireplace, and then they'll have the history of the area. Whoa, holes in the road on the wall. It's kind of a nice setup. It's got a real home feel to it. Yeah, they've been working on this forever. When they put this permanent concrete barrier down on the ground here on the left, that yellow. Not actually working on the road, but they do have it blocked off. I believe I'm in Tennessee. Yes, Jimmy. Tennessee and Kentucky for me will kind of blur back and forth, but I'm on I-40 eastbound right now through the mountains. Oh, I thought we got our lane back. Psych. Yeah, 40. I think 40 is Tennessee. I'm pretty sure. But like I said, I go back and forth between these two states that I lose track. It's the radio. Why is this guy slowing down? There's gas stations on both sides of the road, and there's no way to get to them. Interesting. I don't want to be filming the back of a truck, so I keep backing away from this guy. Okay, why are we slow? Okay, there's a dump truck up in the front of this line from Ohio, but I spent a year in Athens, Tennessee, moving there all the time. It's interesting that people I know, including my cousin from the East Coast, always say that. Because I asked him one day, I said, if I was to move east, what state would I go to? Everybody, including my cousins, said Tennessee. I thought that's interesting that you now bring it up also. That's kind of cool, actually. Gas station with no way to get them. The mountains, driveways, definitely a Tennessee thing. Yeah, this area, they've got the road. I can't see over the wall here, but they're doing all kinds of heavy construction. Well, they've got it cordoned off like they're doing heavy construction. They're not actually doing anything. But this has been like this for a while. I think it's a permanent job. You know, you get paid by the hour, and it makes this area a pain in the rear end to get through. But it's actually moving faster than it did last time. Look at you. But this is moving a whole lot better than it was last time I came through. And I don't know if I can't get the camera fast enough. Let me see if I can do this again. Off to the right down below, there's a river. I don't know if you can see it down there. There's flowing water. It's kind of pretty. Okay, look on the left. Look at the rock formation. Do you see the chain link right there? All along that wall? They hang that chain link fence to keep rocks from falling down and crashing into cars. I mean, I wonder how many times that had to happen before they said, hey, I got an idea. Love the trees. They're probably helping. We get flood. You know what? Chattanooga is signed to be a smart city. Bro, you got to sip beer this night in some campfire outside. Yeah, this area is. Look at this guy right here walking with his dog. He's on foot. This dude right here. That that's kind of cool. The wife and I were in Key West in 22. And what's this? This woman standing here collecting paperwork. Interesting. In 22, we were in Key West, and we did a bike tour of Key West with some guy that was the most laid-back dude you ever met in your life. He's probably in his late 40s, and he was just loving life. You could tell that the stress level on this guy was zero. And he mentioned while we were talking to him that he had walked to Key West from Seattle on foot. Took him 18 months, and that's where he ended up. But he got a job riding a bike around Key West giving tours. And he just, I mean, this guy was the biggest I don't care, relaxed, stress-free human. The guy's probably going to live to be 120 years old. He was so that this reminds me of that guy walking with his dog. You know, that's his life. He just cruises. I keep that, you know, yesterday is the first time I saw a sign that said smart city. What the heck is a smart city? You don't have to deal with Atlanta traffic. Yeah, I agree. That's an epic walk. And when I was expediting back in 21 and early 22, I was driving through Atlanta one night, and the traffic was moving. Let me say that again. I drove through Atlanta at highway speeds. I know you think I'm making that up. I was so surprised by it that I filmed it. And I turned my camera on, and the radio was turned on, playing some music. And I was filming, and I was just godsmacked that I could actually drive through Atlanta on the highway at highway speeds. It was like 1 a.m. Didn't matter because it's always bumper to bumper. And we were on a corner, traffic stopped. And I went, okay, now we're back. You know, back to the usual. Just stop and go forever. But yeah, I'm just thinking about, look back on your life and what have you done? And this guy walked across the United States. And if you've ever driven down to Key West, you'll know how that'd be a bit of a challenge, being that it's a 2-lane road up on a raised bridge with no shoulder. You know, you'd be in a pretty precarious situation. But if you ever go down to Key West, my wife and I enjoy going down there. I don't think it was what we thought it was going to be. And I don't think we'll go back. It's just, we kind of did it, been there, done that. But it's just neat to say we did, you know, to go down and do the bike tour. They ride you around and point out some real interesting stuff. And one of the things we learned when we were there is there was a naval base down there until 1972. And they pulled up stakes and left, and the economy was pretty much reliant on the military dollar, and it disappeared. And the guy said in 1975, you could buy one of these houses, and they're not, you know, some big elaborate. They're kind of call it an aggravated shack, but you could buy a house in 1975 for $1,500, or they trap the rest of your life through a pond when you own nothing and eat bugs. That's funny for the smart city. So this, oh God, I forgot what I was talking about. Smart city, US, no. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. See, old age is catching up to me. But we, like I said, we went down there. We enjoyed our time down there. But they said, I was talking about the houses. You could buy houses for a house for $1,500. $1,500 for a little house, but there was no industry down there. That same house in its exact same condition today, 4 million comfortably. Just for giggles, I look at real estate, and the smallest condominium studio 350 square foot building I could find was $500,000. Yeah. So those little tiny houses are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you could buy them for $1,500. Well, this is no fun. See, this is more what I put up with last time I drove through here. But if you go down there, go on a bike tour. They'll run you around and show you all these little knickknacks. There was a time in history when there were more millionaires living in Key West than anywhere else in the United States. And that was because of the shipping business. And ships would be coming around this is back pre-turn of the last century. Ships would be coming around the Horn and they'd get hit on the reef. They would partially sink and they'd send out rescue craft. And the game was whoever went out to the ship the first and touched it, it was theirs for salvage rights. So people would go out, touch the ship, or if you get there at the same time as somebody else, you both touch the ship, you split the load, and they're basically robbing ships. And if business wasn't good enough, they would literally go out and move the navigation buoys to make sure people, the navigation lights, to make sure people crashed into the reef so they could get another ship. But for a period of time, there were more millionaires living in Key West than anywhere in the United States, all from ship salvage. And that's the kind of history you get when you go on a tour through the city. The guy starts pointing this stuff out, and I just got a kick out of that. See, now right there's a permanent wall, and look at the top of the wall that has a fancy fence, heavy-duty fence, and that's from collapsing rock. Again, I'm curious how many cars had to get hit before they decided to do that. Curious how many more years are going to have this under construction. Expect delays next 20 miles. Great. Wonderful. Bleh. Do car probably does. I was in Key West 2 weeks ago. From the main highway, you can still see at least. Well, oh, seriously? Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't see any wrecks, any ships. They didn't point any out to us. We did a snorkel thing where they put us on a catamaran and drove us a few miles out, and we jumped on a reef and swam around. That was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. Uh, there's a a restaurant in the middle of town in Key West called DJ's Clam Shack, and that has the greatest eating experience I've ever had in my life. It's a little hole in the wall place, and they make what's called a lobster roll, which looks some like a hoagie bun. They cut it open and they pour in this crab meat that's been cut down into bite-sized chunks, and they slobber it in there. And I don't want to say that's the best thing I've ever eaten in my life, but I was eating and I was halfway up my forearm before I realized that I had finished the sandwich and was eating my own hand. I mean, that was hands down the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. Yeah, my wife and I were just looking at each other, going, food should not taste this good. Was the mindset. Pablo and Sandy, hey, what's going on? Where's everybody from? I always ask that question. I had this morning when I was on here in the dark, kind of running. I had a guy from Jakarta, Indonesia, and one from the UK, guy from Arizona. I have a guy from India, Kansas, and Wisconsin. Uh, I drive through Kansas. I was there yesterday, as a matter of fact. Day before yesterday, I drove through Kansas and Wisconsin, North Atlanta. Okay, been through Atlanta a million times. Wisconsin, I was in a town called Prairie de Cedric, Prairie de. I can't remember the names of these places. It was in. I'm gonna. I'm getting kicking now. I'm getting loaded now. Oh, okay, gotcha. Get loaded up. Prairie Day Cedars, Prairie to something. And I was doing a pickup. Yeah, I got there early. I usually show up early. It was, early morning dew on the grass. And next door was a garage. And I took a video. It's in my playlist. I think it's under Scenic Route. There was a 1920s, the remnants of a 1920s truck sitting there. And I walked around and filmed it. And if you think about the metal scrap drives that happened, Prairie du Chien, that's it. That's the one. Prairie du Chien. And it was this truck. It's been worn out. It's been sitting there for decades. Who knows? But if you think about the metal scrap drives they had in World War II, everybody threw anything they had that was worn out into the scrap metal bin. So the fact that this truck still exists is stunning, and it's all completely worn out and rusty and everything, but it's still there, and the body's there, and the frame is there, and you could see what was left of the motor, little flathead motor and stuff. And I thought that was interesting. But I think the most shocking part is you walk up to it, and the roof line is about my chest height. The truck is tiny, teeny tiny. And you look inside and realize to physically fit in that truck in its original form, you'd have to be like 5'5" or less and probably weigh 120 pounds. But yeah, I caught a load up there. I spent the night up there, and then I caught a load home I think I went back to Michigan from there. All right, we got Kansas, Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta reminds me of the Dallas Fort Worth area. It just kind of goes on forever. All the towns kind of glue together, and it's just one big blur. Drifting. Yeah, I'm starting to lose feet again. Yeah, I'm starting to lose feet again. I'm going slow, so let it deal with it. Slow, so let it deal with it. This guy in front of me is leaving like a move. Yeah, I'm up in the mountains, and it causes the signal to come and go, Sir Jimmy. And it's frustrating, but I don't know what else to do. I'm going slow, so it has a chance to catch. You can make phone calls through here all day long, but for some reason it doesn't like to stream. Yeah, an F-150 from the 80s is the size of a Tacoma. Yeah, that's about true. The one manufacturer that actually makes big vehicles is Chevrolet. And I'm a physically large person. I'm 6'4". I'm in the 270s. I take up a lot of real estate when I'm standing there. And when I was flying, they sent me to Indiana. I flew out of Indianapolis for a couple of days. They flew me out, and they gave me a rental car, and it was a Impala, or as we say, Impala. And I had a rental Impala, and the interior of the car was large, and I really appreciated that. You're looking at a PowerPoint slideshow. Yeah, this going through the bounds here, it's going to be hit and miss. Oh, we're coming up on a tunnel, so I'm fully expecting this to go away here for a few minutes. So get ready. Looking at a PowerPoint presentation. Turn headlights on. I will not. Usually there's a manufacturing date on here, but I don't see them. All right, going to a tunnel. See you on the other side. I don't know if this is going to hold up or not. Used to be 2 lanes. That's clear. And he's gone. Oh, the record, I like smartasses. I married one redhead, so it's like double dangerous. And he's gone. Oh, the record, I like smartasses. I married one redhead, so it's like double dangerous. Shows me live, but I keep losing everybody. Wow. Oh, they're doing some serious construction here. Look at this. They're doing something. They're doing something out here. Wish I wasn't stuck behind this truck, though. Also, they have rest areas in Tennessee, Kentucky rest areas. They have water fountains, and they're pulling water from a local source, and the water's really good. Ohio water at the rest area is like, ugh, but Kentucky, Tennessee water is good stuff. Lots of cops ahead. I can't get over 35 miles an hour. You got nothing to worry about here. Well, it's showing my battery's full, so why is it? Yeah, yeah. I run Waze, and I have radar in there. I don't need it, but I run radar in my van because I run radar my whole life. And I run a CB, which is on. It's quiet because there's not a lot of activity, but I and other drivers call out police vehicles, so that's pretty. Hide behind signs and bushes. Yeah, yeah. The thing about when they shoot radar running up and down these valleys is the radar bounces, and it's easy to pick up. What is my seat made of? This is just a factory seat that came with the van, and I got a squishy pillow, a squishy seat pad underneath because the seats. I don't care what the seat's bad. It's got to get uncomfortable. Uh, and sometimes I've known people that have different seat pads and they switch them out occasionally. What CB channel do I use? 19 is the universal trucker channel. And again, unfortunately, the CB radios of today. Ooh, do I get a lag? Ooh, the road opened up. Uh, the CB radios are real quiet now, but the truckers use 19. And that's where you're going to get the most information on. It's just that nowadays the radios are a lot quieter. You get past this guy. Oh, don't speed up now, dude. Hold on a second. Zipping up here. Cops use your. Well, I agree radar is obsolete because it's broadcasting, but to use a laser, you have to aim it like a rifle and you have to stop to do it, and you can't shoot it through your windshield. We're in Tennessee. You're asking where we are. We're in Tennessee on I-40 eastbound through the Appalachians. We're pushing in. Laser, I agree. Laser is more effective, but it requires effort. And the way police employ radar now is they know there is a small percentage of people that run detectors, myself in that crowd, and they'll just sit there in the dark and flip their radar on and watch videos. And the radar, the gun inside the police vehicle will show the speed, but it has a sound. It's making a sound, so they can just listen and sit there and play videos. And then all of a sudden, the sound goes up, and it tells them the vehicle's traveling faster. You almost to exit 273. All right, going into a tunnel. I'm probably going to disappear again here, so hold on. Whee! Why are you slowing down on me? Mile marker 8. Did I check? Did I cross a border here I didn't see? Oh, the radar is still useful. Again, most people don't run radar detectors. They go, "Oh, I just keep my eyes open." Yeah, okay. And they, with Texas, what they do is they sit off the road in the bushes and they point the vehicle 90 degrees, meaning, okay, North Carolina. Okay, hey, you called it. This is North Carolina Welcome Center. Huh? That was quick. Uh, they'll point their vehicle 90 degrees to the road. They can't even see you coming. They just you drive right in front of them, and the radar gun hits you. And that's how they get you. I don't care. Oh yeah, always honk the horn. I didn't even see the border. I didn't see the sign. But they can still get away with radar, and they'll just listen to it. And when it gets high pitched, it tells you a vehicle's moving fast. Boom, they make money off it. All you got to do is have you don't have to get a fancy radar detector. Just have one, programmable, but have one. And I'm a Campbell record holder. And at the age of 57, I've never had a speeding ticket in my life. And, when I was doing my last flying job, I had one of the hot rod Mini Coopers, and I would drive aggressively going to work, driving hundreds of miles, sometimes further. Stayed with you on the last tunnel. That stayed on through the tunnel? It can't stay on out here in open space, but it stays on in the tunnel. Yeah, that makes sense. There's that rock cliff again. I love that stuff. It doesn't seem, this is me talking, it doesn't seem like radar or speed traps are as common as they used to be. North Carolina Welcome Center. I would normally stop in there, but I'm kind of racing to get this load delivered right now, since they changed it by a day. But North Carolina rest areas, their welcome centers are nice also. Let's see, 22 flights. Don't you do it? Don't you do it? I'm on the border from Tennessee into North Kakalaki, and still didn't see the sign. And I'm not sure where that is. I'm going through Ashley eventually, and I'm getting off at the town of Morgan to drop off this monstrosity I have in the back seat. But the weather is absolutely gorgeous out here. Where are you headed to? Where am I headed to? Oh, I just said that. Morganton, North Carolina. Okay, downshifting, downshifting, downshifting. All right. How about you get here in the hammer lane and slow down? My daughter lives in Morganton. Cool. Anything going on there? I don't know anything about this area. I don't pass through the Carolinas very often. As a matter of fact, it's the first time I've been here in a few years. Choo choo. Sorry, I'm having to watch the road here a little more than normal. Up the hill we go. Love the area though. Jeez, love the area. Already laying on it a little bit. 22.2 miles per gallon. Aubrey Country Day. Dash camera is that right? Speed. Avery. People That's why I know. I've got a dash camera. I've been running dash cameras for years, and when I first started doing this job, I think I got back in March. I had ordered one. It's called a Road Hawk that I really like, and it didn't show up in the mail, and I didn't have it for my first, my first run out here. I was out here for 3 weeks, and I tell you what, I would have had. Uh, Currently, I'm on I-40 eastbound. Just rolled out of Tennessee into North Carolina about 5 minutes ago. But I did not have my dash camera with me, and I was doing the Toledo Detroit run, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I was coming south at 11 o'clock at night ish, and I had my cruise set on 60 because I wasn't in a hurry because I knew my pickup wasn't going to be ready. And the people, all these billboards you see on the side of the road that says, "Have you been in a wreck with a big truck? Call the get rich quick lawyer." Well, so people go out and try to get in accidents with commercial vehicles and then claim injury. It's kind of it's a scam, full-time scam thing. The problem is if you crash into a great big truck, you might get great big hurt. So they go after small commercial vehicles, and this one has the brand name of the company on it that I drive for. So I'm driving along on this road all by myself on cruise control. And then in my left headlight, I see a car tire cutting in front of me. I see the back wheel of a car. I think it was a Ford Fusion, a gray colored, maroon colored Ford Fusion. And this guy is cutting in front of me. He doesn't have his headlights on. He snuck up on me in the dark and then swerved in front of me. And the guy was so close to the front end of my vehicle as he cut over that my collision alarm did not see him, and I couldn't see about maybe 3 inches below his door handle was invisible. It cut off by the hood. And then had he tapped his brakes, I would have slammed into this guy at 60 miles an hour. But what he did was he turned his steering wheel to get in closer to me, and all that did was cause momentum to swerve the rear end of his car, and he basically wrapped himself around the front of my van by less than a foot, completely missing me, and slammed into the guardrail without me touching him. And I'm looking to my right. I didn't even have my chance to 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 disengage the cruise control or tap the brake. It happened that fast. In my head, I look to the right as this guy goes off the road and slams into the guardrail. And then on my left side, all of a sudden, a set of headlights appears. There was the witness, was his buddy who was also driving in the dark, who was going to flip his headlights on and pull over and go, "Oh yeah, that guy went over and crashed into him," and blah 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 blah. That routine. But he flipped his headlights on and he kind of fishtailed on the road, and then he took off. He didn't stop because he knew that wasn't going to work. And he just drove off really fast. And I kept going, never came off cruise control, and laughed because that guy just destroyed his car for no days. I had a condo in Sugar, worked for a personal injury attorney. Yeah, this guy, a truck in front of me, he's coming head on, look out. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Back up to speed. Yeah, the insurance scammers come a dime a dozen. There's the staged car accident. And if you ever notice on dash cam videos, when somebody slams on the brakes in front of you and or backs up to crash into you, there's always four people in the vehicle. It's never just one person. It's always full of people. And they all four of them get out rubbing their necks. Oh, what's happened? You crashed it. Yeah, but it's all on dash cam. I mean, you got to be a special kind of stupid. Have you been near Lexington? I've been through Lexington a million times. I pass through Lexington, Nashville, and Knoxville on a regular basis. You can almost hear the high performance engine, can't you? Here we go. Alrighty, back up to speed. Hope that's done. No wonder of sleeping. Yeah, Jimmy talking about that. I watched a guy do that. He's looking at the camera, smiling and looking at his wife, and then he reaches over and goes, "Oh my God," and shakes her, and she wakes up with that truck coming head on, and she starts losing her mind. I've seen a video. That's funny. Of course, his wife probably beat the crap out of him when that was done. I think it's funny though. Married to a dingy woman like me, we joke on each other and mess with each other. And like I said, you know you've married the right person if you're making an idiot out of yourself in public and they join in, as opposed to saying, "Stop doing that, stop doing that." You're from Lexington. That's cool. Oh, what's that? Oh, where's my steep downhill grades? There's a couple places on here uh, that are downhill and you can get out of gear. I always tell people, my wife, they say, "Why, you know, my buddy was like telling me, you don't want to get married, you don't get married." So then he met her and he went, "Oh, okay, I get it. You're two lunatics." I usually throw sarcasm and jokes out there and people either laugh or ignore me. Well, I threw it. I was fording a mess, still trying to rebuild it from the Hurricane Helen. Really? When was Helen? I remember that was a while back. Wasn't it a couple of years ago? Yeah, they met her and he goes, "Okay, I get it. It's two lunatics." As I tell people, I come up with a really, really bad idea and my wife backs my play 100%. And that's when you know you married the right person. "Let's go fill in the blank." And they go, "Yeah, yeah, right on, yeah." You go, "Heck, let's do it." I mean, how many wives out there are going to green light their husband to go do a cannonball? You know what you get to do the cannonball? Nothing. You know what you win? Nothing. What can go wrong? Well, you can get a massive speeding ticket. You can get arrested. You can get killed. There's a lot of things you can get, but it's fun to do. Tow trucks. I'm like, okay. Last fall, Helen, I lose track. See, I live by the Texas coast, and we have storms all the time, so you kind of lose track of which one's which. There's Katrina, and they had what was that one storm? There was one that flooded Houston back in 2001. Really bad, I remember. But we have hurricanes and big storms down there pretty regular. And as far as flooding goes, people always say, "Here comes the weather." Well, where the weather comes from is out in the Gulf. There's a monkey out there with a grind box, creates storms. And the storms come into Texas and Louisiana and dump 8.9 jillion gallons of water. And then they drift up to the northeast and they dump another 8.9 jillion gallons of water. But then all that water gets in the rivers and comes down to Texas that are already flooded. And then it hits that area and it just, adds to the problem. So, because we're the low spot. So flooding and hurricanes and stuff are not uncommon. We do have tornadoes, ironically, and there's a park in the town over near me that had these 120-year-old beautiful trees and a tornado touched down and surgically ripped all the trees out of the park, which really sucked. But we do have tornadoes. I lived in Houston for 20. What part of Houston, Mike? What part of Houston? Dead zone, bro. Sounds like a description now. Well, my timer is still running on this. Yeah, I'm curious what part of Houston. Dead zone sounds like a description. Oh, Metro. Okay, you're in Houston, Houston. You're down in the big city. I live up in Conroe. I've lived up there since 2001. We had a population of 35,000 when I moved there, and now we've got 105,000 or something. The woodlands used to be isolated. Now the woodlands is molded into spring, and then there was a gap between the woodlands and Conroe, and now the woodlands moved into Magnolia and is now blended into Conroe. So it's all starting to, become one big blur. Starting about 6 months ago on 25 in Conroe, you get on the highway and you started doing bumper to bumper traffic in Conroe. I'm like, how did this happen? It just recently started up. The bad guys from Transformers. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Because I'm going to, it looks like it's close to Ashley, North Carolina. Yeah, I'm home in the mountains. This is the best part to film. So that's what sucks about this. This is the area I want to videotape. You got in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing to look at. Oh, whiskey barrels. You see that? I've never seen that before. They make whiskey. Uh, they have these wooden barrels that's made out of a specific kind of wood, and they burn it with like a torch to charcoal the inside of it, and then they make the whiskey and pour it into the barrels, and it sits there for, I believe it has to stay in the barrel for 7 years, and it absorbs the charcoal in the wood. Lost some dead zones in Bush. Yeah, I'm finding that out the hard way. And it absorbs the wood and the charcoal, which gives it whiskey that amber color, but it has to stay in the barrel for 7 years. And they have these huge warehouses around here with just barrels that are dated. And at the end of the time when they use them, they sell the barrels. People buy them. I don't know what you do with them, but people buy them. So that guy driving down the road probably had some whiskey barrels. I'm assuming they're empty. But Kentucky and Tennessee whiskey, that's serious business. Personally, I'm not a drinker, but I can understand the allure of it. I am southeast bound right now, according to my dashboard. Lots of dead zones. Yeah, I got into a place somewhere in Tennessee making a delivery. It was a 2-lane road through, and a guy on a motorcycle crashed flying around the corner, and it stopped the highway or the road, and I couldn't safe at all. And I'm trying to call dispatch to let them know that I'm going to be way late because everything was stationary, and I couldn't make the call. And when I finally got out of there, they were flipping out at me, going, "Oh my God, we couldn't find you on the app." Well, I was in a dead zone. Lots of wineries. Wineries? Oh, I guess that makes sense. A friend of mine bought whiskey barrel air freshener. Actually, so that's cool. The family farm we're going to be going to here in a week. My God, it's getting close. They're vineyards and along Lake Erie in New York and a little bit in Pennsylvania. If there's a mountain range, and the part of the mountain, it's east-west mountain, the part that faces the lake, the climate and the terrain and the soil is good for vineyards, and they're all along that stretch. And our family farm has vineyards, and you have, traffic slowing down. You have Concord grapes and you have wine grapes. Concord grapes are the hard ones that the grape machines go along and shake. They just kind of shake the vine and drop them. And who the heck that is? I don't trust the phone number. Sorry. Uh, the Concord grapes are kind of rough and tumble. And the wine, yeah, there's the barrels again. Say anything? Farm truck. It says capacity barrel code. Doesn't say what it is though. Hey, is that whiskey barrels or wine barrels? Chris? Yeah, I'm live streaming. We're talking about it. Right on. Yeah, they're whiskey barrels. I just asked the guy. That's cool. Yeah, right here. This dude, I just talked to him. Whiskey barrels. That's funny. So anyway, wine grapes are softer, and they have to be harvested by hand with a little pair of clippers. Courier of sorts. I'm actually a secret agent, CIA operative, MI5 double seven. I drive an expediting van. It's truck driving in a box van. It's the same thing a truck driver does. It's just way easier, and I only carry one or two pallets. I don't carry an entire truckload. And because my total setup is under 10,000 pounds, this particular van loaded is 9,070. Because of the weight, I don't have to operate under a CDL. I have a CDL-B license, but I don't need to operate under one, and I don't go to weigh stations, and I don't go through commercial. Very brief moment here. Hold on. Oh, jeez, somebody preaching. And so I'm doing the same job. It's just I don't have all the regulations, and I don't do logbooks. Truckers operate under a 11 hours of driving and a 30-minute break. And if, oh my God, you're moving beyond your 11 hours or whatever, you're going to be beaten with a rubber noodle or something. Whereas driving this van, this is like driving a car. You just get in it and go. And they don't care if you drive 10 hours or 30 hours, even though it'd be tiring. Yeah, this wine barrel vehicle next to me's got a commercial farm truck license plate on it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on up here. So you are the guy that gets my next day order in Amazon. We don't do Amazon. We do more commercial heavy freight, but a vast majority of what our company carries are auto parts shortages or stuff like that. Yeah, the trucking industry is dangerous. Talk about the regulations, and here's how it works. The company that's producing the product makes money. The company selling the product makes money. The guy that sold you the truck makes money. The guy that sold you the tires makes money. The insurance companies make money. When things get hard, the shipper charges the receiver more money, but they don't pay the guy driving the vehicle anymore. Everybody makes money off the labor of the person driving the vehicle. Everybody takes a cut. Everybody has a piece. And it's what's left over, the person actually doing the work makes money. And it's getting a little bit ridiculous these days. And in the trucking business, they're talking about Trump was coming out with saying truckers have to speak English because they're hiring these people from overseas who don't understand the laws or the language, and you bump into them a lot. And something in the expediting world that happens, and I don't know if it's still going on, but your vehicle can only be like 6 or 7 years old in this business normally. And you have commercial insurance, which is outrageous, but you have to have two of them. One for when the vehicle's empty and one for when the vehicle is loaded. So it's super duper expensive. So what was happening for a while is these dudes were jumping off the boat or jumping across the border and buying a 15-year-old million-mile van that shouldn't even have been physically running at all, shouldn't have had any motor power whatsoever. They don't have a driver's license. They don't run insurance. They don't do maintenance. They just show up and start driving and bidding loads. And shippers are like, well, I didn't know that the guy didn't have insurance. I didn't know that the guy's vehicle was totally unsafe to operate. I didn't know he didn't have a motor carrier number. And these guys come out here and run until the van breaks down. And I've bumped into these guys where you go to a truck stop and there's a van sitting there on flat tires because that's as far as the van went. And then the van disintegrates and they abandon it and go buy another $1,500 vehicle. And what was happening were shippers were putting loads on the boards. And there's a certain rate that, depending on where you're picking up and where you're going and how big and whatnot, there's kind of there's a rate. And you know what the rate is. And these guys would put a load out and people bid it, and then it's like, okay, we're going to start, driving it, and the load would just sit there and it wouldn't move until one of these cut rate guys came in. And when the cut rate guy would come in, he would do it for like half. And they knew that if they waited long enough, the half guy would show up on scene. And that's kind of how that was going. And it was sad because it was cutting everybody else out of the equation, which is kind of a jackass move, but people were doing it. Come on, people. It was really, really bad that people were doing that. And it was just ripping everybody off. And this was right back. Thank you, honey. Thank you. Jesus. Get that one car line closer. Jeez. I'm watching her come up in my mirror and she just keeps pushing because you got to get one car line closer. And it was undercutting everybody because they're operating outside the. Sorry. I don't know who that is, and I'm not talking to him. Ooh. Anyway. All right. This is no fun to film this. Let me let this go for now, and let me go back to navigating because I got to figure out where I'm going here. And I'll catch up with you guys later. Take care.